So welcome back. This is my second video in my 100 lessons that I've learned about board game design and the board game industry after a decade working as a freelance board game designer. I'm Adam Porter, I design games, I have 8 published games, more on the way. I like to talk about my processes and experiences on this channel with a real focus on product design. So if you like what I do, please subscribe, share the video, and comment. I really like to hear your thoughts on these topics. So we're today looking at numbers, where are we at? 90 to 81. So first up, I've got my deck of cards here, pre-shuffled. So let's have a little look. What have we got? Keep your day job. This is not an industry where you're going to make an awful lot of money. You could, it's possible, right? I have friends who have managed to do it. I mean, they're not millionaires. Do you know what I mean? They're making really good money, an annual salary, but after years and years of making very, very little. And you can look at it and think there's some sort of big overnight success there, but actually you're missing out on all the work that's gone on before. So that success can come, but it comes for very, very few people. The majority make a relatively modest amount, okay? I've got 8 games that have been published, and you know, none of them they haven't had a single year where I could even possibly think about, right, that's my income for the year. Every year it's been enough for, you know, a holiday or a little bit of a contribution to some savings or something like that. It's not a massive amount of money that's coming in because you only get paid very small amounts of royalties on each individual sale. And it might be as low as, you know, 20 pence or 20 cents per copy sold for a really small game, or maybe $1 or a euro per copy on a really, really big game. Now that doesn't mount up very quickly. If you're only going to sell 5,000, 10,000 copies, maybe 20,000 if you've got a game that's really successful, then that's not going to be a huge amount of money. Even if you sell 50,000, 100,000 copies, well, that game might have a fairly short shelf life, right? These games tend to disappear after a couple of years, and so you might have a nice little pot of money, but it's not going to sustain. So the only way you can really give up your day job is if you have one evergreen game that's mega successful. Right? We're talking Wingspan, Ticket to Ride, something like that, where it's going to just continue to generate revenue, royalties for year after year after year. And even if it doesn't, you've already made your fortune, right? Or to have a bunch of sort of games that are coming out frequently, almost in a sort of magazine subscription style. Things like the Exit the Game series, or the Adventure Games series, or the Echoes series from Ravensburger. Games where, you know, there's going to be new episodes that are produced frequently, which are almost guaranteed, and they sell really well. And so that's how a lot of the designers who are full-time have managed to do it, because the games just keep on coming. It's a different story if you're self-publishing. You can build a career around that if you're going to take total control of everything, and if you're really, really good at it. If you're bad at it, then you're going to lose money, frankly. But keep your day job. Don't risk your livelihood on this stuff. It is not easier to design a simple game, nor is it harder. It's commonly said by designers that it is more difficult to design a simple game than it is to design a hard game. And, you know, I design very, very simple games. And I will get designers who have designed really complex games saying to me, oh, you know, I wish I could design something so simple. And you look at somebody like Bez Shariari, and her games are so simple, so streamlined, so, you know, there's so little going on in the game. And it's a real achievement to get into that mindset and to be able to produce that stuff. But it's not harder than creating a complex game. I couldn't create a massive Euro game. I don't have the skill set. Just like the people who are creating those games don't have the skill set to create the little party games and children's games and family games that I create. It isn't easier to do one thing or the other. You play to your skills, right? So I think sometimes we talk in these cliches, but I don't believe that they're true. There are too many of us. I'm talking about game designers. There's too many of us. I'm talking about publishers. There's too many of us. The industry cannot sustain it. And it means that we're all vulnerable. We're all in a vulnerable, unstable state. It's another reason not to give up your day job. Right? Don't give up your day job. This is an unstable career, right? We are in this massive, hesitate to call it a bubble, because hopefully it just keeps on growing, okay? But at some point it could burst, and even if it doesn't, publishers go under all the time, okay? You see Kickstarters failing frequently. This is not a stable business to be in. There's too many of us. So enjoy it. Enjoy it, have fun with it, try and rise above the rest of the noise, but you know, this is not stable, okay? You're gonna have to ride the waves. Downtime kills a game. Aim for quick or simultaneous, quick turns. Right? You don't want to be sitting there for ages thinking about your next turn. If everyone's doing that, that just absolutely kills the flow of a game. It destroys the whole experience. I dread the playtest nights when, in our playtest group, when somebody will have produced a game and, you know, they tell us maybe it's going to take 45 minutes to play or an hour to play, and you think, okay, that's quite a long period of time for an untested game, a game where I'm not quite sure what I'm getting into. Maybe this designer is completely new to us. And then they start laying it out and you start to see the complexity and the dread is starting to build, but we can't stop them now. And then you start playing and everybody is sat there for ages and it becomes very clear this is going to be the whole evening. Now it's playing this one game that is going to be a slow trudge through the evening. I dread those experiences. Downtime kills a game. Keep everybody involved. Make your turns as quick as possible. If there's 8 different things that you might want to do on your turn, well, why not do them over 8 turns? Okay, so everybody gets to do one thing on their turn, and then over 8 turns they can achieve lots of stuff. Don't give us loads and loads of things to do on our turn, because it means everybody's waiting. Yeah, downtime kills a game. Try and keep it quick. Simultaneous play is great, although simultaneous play interferes with interaction and possibilities there. Write in the second person to sound dynamic. So I'm talking there about not only writing your rules, but also card text. Now what I mean by second person is don't write on their turn, the player rolls the die. Write on your turn, roll the die. Make it dynamic. The players score points for this and this and this. No, you score points for this and this and this. Okay, everything should be written as if it's directly speaking to the player. Okay, conversational, as if you're teaching the game at the table. It makes things so much more dynamic, so much easier to read, so much easier to kind of grasp, because someone's got to sit down and read this stuff. So it's got to be engaging and dynamic. Nobody is going to steal your unpublished idea. Okay. Oh, I'm almost dreading this card because this is a whole topic in itself, and I've made a video about it where I don't know how long I talked for, I can't remember, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. I could go on and on about this topic. And people do. It's such a frequently asked question in the board game industry from new designers. How do I protect myself against people stealing my game idea? The truth is, you can't do an awful lot about it, okay? There is no, you automatically have copyright on your game. You can't patent it, really. I mean, you might be able to if you went to extraordinary lengths, but it would be a complete waste of time. You can only really get copyright on the text and the artwork, not on the ideas, right? The mechanisms can't be copyrighted, so anybody can use them legally. Ethically, they can't. And that's where your protection comes in, is that if people do stuff that's unethical, they get called out for it. And this is quite a small community. The global community, the board game community, is quite protective of this stuff. They don't like it if they see somebody being ripped off, so they tend to dive in there. You've got so much to gain by showing your game to loads and loads of people, getting their feedback, both publishers and playtesters. So don't be protective about it, okay? Ideally, you'd be working on multiple games. So in the very, very unlikely event that somebody stole part of your idea, you can adapt, you can move on. There's not enough money to be made in this business to really be thinking about stealing people's ideas. The one area where you do sometimes see it is people getting their idea stolen when it's been published, right? You've got a published game and then someone else rips off the published game, right? Not the unpublished idea. It's not the publisher you're pitching this stuff to. It's somewhere else. It's some shop. I get very disappointed with some like high street stores in the UK where I go in there and I see rip-off versions of popular games. And some of these are mass market games where, I mean, what does Hasbro care if they probably do care, frankly, very much. But if there's, rip-off copies of Connect 4 or Guess Who floating around, everybody knows the original. Everyone really wants to play the original. They're probably making plenty of money anyway. It's still not right. But when I remember seeing a rip-off version of Rhino Hero in a mass market store. And I thought, what a shame. Because that is a game that's come out of, it's not out of the hobby market, it's because Harbour is big in Germany. I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like seeing these things being ripped off, but it does happen. And there's not much you can do about it, and there's not much publishers can do about it. But no one's going to steal your unpublished idea, don't worry about it. And watch my video if you want more detailed, coherent thoughts on that. Submission forms suck. Personal addresses rule. Talk about email addresses there. This is what I find when I'm trying to arrange meetings, pitch meetings before a convention. I hate using the online submission forms. I never get a response. If I have a form where I fill out some brief information about the game, it might ask me to send some photos, maybe the rules of the game. Occasionally it asks for a sell sheet, usually it doesn't. Very rarely does it ask me for a video, and I don't get to really put in anything very personal as an introduction. I don't learn the name or the email address of anybody who works in the industry. It's cold, it's impersonal. And I can see why it might work for a publisher, because ultimately they don't want to be swayed by your personality, right? They've got to look at the game, because that's what they've got to show to distributors and retailers and purchasers. You're not in the box, right? So they quite like the very formal nature of it, the impersonal nature of it. But for me, it doesn't work. I enjoy these personal interactions. I like the feedback. I like the discussion. I like meeting people face to face, and so I much prefer going to conventions, gathering business cards, asking who I should contact in the future, and then building up my own little database of addresses that I'm going to use and updating it each year as people inevitably move on to other jobs. Sometimes though I have to use submission forms, and it always sucks. It never gets me anywhere. Okay, so I don't like online submission forms. I don't know about your experience, I'd be very interested to hear. The first play is everything. Okay, first impressions really, really count, particularly in this industry where there are thousands of games. If somebody starts playing your game and they don't like it, they're not going to come back and try it again. I mean, frequently I see when there are negative reviews and things like that, people will argue, well, that's what somebody would say if they'd only played the game once or twice. You've got to play this game 5 times or 10 times before you're really going to start to really enjoy it and understand it. Nobody's doing that. Right? Nobody's got time to be playing a game 5 or 10 times to discover whether they enjoy it or not. Particularly in an industry where there are thousands of other games they could be playing. Why would they? That first play has got to be exciting. It doesn't have to show you everything, but it's got to show the game, if not at its best, it's got to show the game in a very, very good state, right? You've got to give a good account of yourself on that very first play. Lift up other designers, don't tear them down. Now, what I mean by this is sometimes in playtest groups, you get a sense of perhaps the more experienced designers, they can be quite brutal with their feedback. Okay, they can really kind of tear apart a designer's prototype. It's almost like a baptism of fire. Like there's a kind of bravado in it. I play your game, I'll rip it apart. Occasionally you see it with publishers too. They like to tell you about, all their experience and expertise and really, wear it on their sleeve and kind of beat you down. And they'll do it with almost a sort of supportive, like, oh, I'm doing this to help you, but they're not. It's about them and it's about their ego. Okay, lift people up, don't tear them down. Okay, tell people about your experiences for sure. Tell people where they're going wrong for sure, but always be humble enough to recognise that you don't know everything and you were in their position once and you wouldn't have liked to have been spoken to like that. And even if you did like being spoken to like that, doesn't mean that everybody else does as well. All right, be kind, be generous, help people, reach out to other people, lift them up. Okay, what do I get out of making this channel? I say that, I get a few quid each month. Not a huge amount, it's not worth the effort, right? I get the occasional review copy of a game. Really, really not worth the effort. What I get out of it is helping other people and enjoying the comments and the feedback and seeing people saying, do you know what, this was really, really valuable to me. That is what fuels me, right? Lift other people up and they'll do the same for you. Never debate a rejection. Publishers will reject you for all sorts of different reasons. Sometimes good reasons, sometimes bad reasons. Okay, they might reject you because your game doesn't really fit in their catalogue. They might reject you because it's not going to fit in the right box size that they use. They might reject you because they can't afford the sort of components that you're requiring from them. They might reject you because of personal taste. It's just not the sort of game that they like. They might reject you because they think your game's rubbish. That's a bit harder to suck up, but yeah, we've all got to. I'm hard on games sometimes. Why shouldn't a publisher be? And they might reject you for some ludicrous reason that you just know is completely unjust, okay, and nonsense. Never argue with them. What a waste of time. They've made up their mind. They've made up their mind. They're not going to change it because you debate with them. Leave it, smile, say thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for taking the time to look at my game. Move on to somebody else. There are plenty of other publishers out there. Okay, at Essenspiel, I met with 30 of them, and I could have met with more if I had more hours in the day. Okay, there are a lot of publishers. You don't need to be arguing with one of them and trying to change their mind because you're not going to achieve it. Just get on with your life. Doesn't matter. Go back to them with another game in the future or don't. Give them a black mark. Doesn't matter. Don't argue with them. Don't debate with them. Be a professional. They talk to each other. Okay, if they're not happy with your approach, if they think you're unprofessional, it'll feed back to other publishers. So that is my second 10, taking us from numbers 90 to 81, and we're gradually working our way through my 100 lessons I've learned in the board game industry. If you enjoyed it, please watch some of my other videos, subscribe, comment, and share this one.